everybody's struggles.
Welcome, world, to Everybody's Struggles. We have a beautiful and wonderful guest, my good friend Sharick LaMay.
Oh, thank you.
I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. The beautiful thing about Sharick and I, we've known each other forever.
Before you had the beard. Before you could grow a beard.
When I had my baby face. In biology, right?
Chemistry.
Yeah. The great thing is Sharick is a producer, media specialist. She does anything you can think of when it comes to entertainment. I know a lot about you. The world doesn't. So if you could tell the world a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you're currently working on.
Sure, that's a lot. So again, I'm Sharick LaMay. I am a media specialist, producer, as well as a host. I also host a weekly radio show called Limelight Live on the Good News Radio. Check it out. I currently am an in-house producer for Paramount. I do a lot of branding content and commercials and things, and eventually leading me to go more into scripted. And outside of that, my boutique production company, LaMay Media, we are a non-stop shop for everything media related. So we do music videos, commercials, documentaries, everything. So yeah, it's a real passion of mine, and it's been going good.
Where are you from?
I'm from Oakland. I'm originally from Oakland, East Bay. I went to school with this young man, Berkeley High. And yeah, just Bay Area through and through.
Tell us a little bit about growing up in Oakland and living in the Bay.
Man, you had to be there. It was an amazing time, 90s, early 2000s in the Bay. It was just, the energy was different. Everybody was so creative and people were so righteous and about the cause and about the movement and culture, and it was an influx of diversity. So I think we had a lot of exposure to a lot of different types of cultures, a lot of different types of media. It was a great time. It was a really great time. It's not the same.
No, it's hella different now.
But I appreciate growing up in that time and being from the Bay. I wouldn't have wanted to grow up anywhere else.
Same. It's crazy too, because like growing up there, at first you get a culture shock when you move there, coming from a different place. Mm-hmm. But it ended up being like one of the best experiences I've ever had, because it kind of prepares you for the rest of the world.
Absolutely. You get all kinds of people there, all kinds.
So now we're going to learn a little more about yourself on a personal side.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the hardest thing you've ever dealt with in your life?
Can I say that we've done this interview 3 times?
This is the third time.
I wanted to mention that because since the first and the second time we've done this interview, so many things have changed.
Yeah.
And I believe you've asked me that same question each time. So as of recently, the most difficult thing that I've had to go through is losing my daughter. January of this year, I had a premature birth. My daughter was born and she didn't make it. And on top of that, I was hospitalized for quite some time and had to not work and recuperate. I'm still recuperating, still recovering. Aside from the physical and emotional toll, it just took a toll on everyone around me. And I didn't know sometimes if I was going to be able to get back to where I was before, let alone succeed beyond what I was trying to accomplish. And just having to become vulnerable has been very difficult, having to tell people how I really feel and be emotional with people and allow myself to grieve. It has been very difficult, but it's something that I'm getting better at every day, and it's driving me more and more and more to be a better person and to succeed and accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish for her and for me.
Right. No, I love that. And
Thank you.
We've had this conversation. I watched your show. Well, mm-hmm. Heather and I watched it together.
Oh.
When you were talking about everything and,
mm-hmm.
Seeing you on your birthday, like, the growth is already there.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you sharing that, because that is something that's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question is, how are you learning to live with that experience?
I had to go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to stay away from that as much as possible before, because I had tried to get therapists, and being a Black woman and trying to get a therapist is so taboo, so to speak. It's really hard to do And I had put forth some energy into it before and just wasn't quite getting the therapist I want. It's like dating, honestly. Finding a therapist is like finding the perfect match for me. And I wanted someone Black. I wanted someone preferably from California, someone who can really identify with me, not too old, not too young. So when I lost my daughter, I wasn't even out the hospital yet. And the social workers were like, we're finding you a therapist. We're going to do the work for you. And they found someone for me. She didn't quite work out, but through that, I was able to, be matched with someone else. And it's been a transition for me. Like I said, being vulnerable is not really a thing that I do. Most girls from where I'm from, we pretty much don't show our emotion. We're taught not to show too much emotion. We have to be hard. We have to be tough. And having to speak certain things out loud has been a transition for me. But it's changed me, I think, for the better. And it's allowing me to realize what is a priority in my life, including prioritizing my mental health.
Yeah, it's important because I was fortunate enough to be able to find a therapist and get a therapist right away. And I've been, rocking with her for 5 years now.
Oh, that's awesome.
And to be honest, you probably see sometimes I posted on Instagram about having a therapist, but really I don't know where I would be without her. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Some of the things that I've been through, it's nowhere near compared to what you've experienced, but it's the experiences that I've had. So I'm glad that you've taken that time to get one, because I was prideful in the beginning. I don't need that. I'm good. I'm really good. But then when I realized I wasn't, it was all right, it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not for people, it's not just for people who feel like they've gone through traumatic experiences or have childhood issues. It really is just a sounding board. And sometimes just being able to hear yourself, like I said, speak things out loud and work through things that you haven't been able to work through. And not all therapists are great. You've been fortunate. I've been fortunate to find a good one. I could probably find another one later on, who knows? And they all have different specialties.
Yeah.
So I went from a grief therapist to, going to someone who kind of encompassed everything that I needed, because it wasn't just the grief, it was other things that I was dealing with too that all kind of flushed out together.
So what are some of the life struggles that you've had?
How long is this?
Besides this. As long as you want it to be.
Other life struggles that I've had, I would say just not having a silver spoon and having to figure my way out by myself. And, what led me to being in Los Angeles was me figuring it out all on my own. And that was a struggle. I've gone from being somewhat comfortable in the Bay Area to, at a whim, moving to Los Angeles and sleeping on people's couches. That's not anything I've ever had to do before.
I did the same.
So that was very much so a struggle. And I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
And having jobs that I knew were not on my level. And I don't like to say it like that, but just knowing that I could do something so much more creative, and I had to humble myself a lot coming out here. Really, really had to humble myself, and that was definitely a struggle. But I think pertaining to my faith, I think that when you humble yourself and you show humility to God, I think God presents opportunities to you. And it may take a while, but you have to remain faithful. You have to remain steadfast. And just going through that whole transition and literally being by myself. Luckily, I've had amazing friends that helped me transition. I met some amazing friends since being out here. But like you said, pride is a big deal when you sleeping on people's couches. So I had to let go of that. And the greater good was what I was going after.
Yeah, I remember when we talked, and we were talking about how being big in the Bay Area is like being a needle in a haystack in LA.
Man, it's like, my dad told me too. He said you have a couple options. You could be a big fish in a little pond, which according to some people I was. Back in the Bay, I worked at 106 KMEL, the radio station. Everybody knew me as a dancer. Even to this day, I'll have people come up to me like, I remember you taught dance class. And, so going from that, having these accolades and having awards and being recognized by the city of Berkeley and all these things, and coming to LA where it's like, okay, and you and everybody else. So that was a struggle, and realizing there's always going to be someone prettier. There's always going to be someone more talented if you think that way. So trying to not succumb to imposter syndrome is very difficult. I deal with that even to this day.
Yeah.
So that's a constant struggle. But I think as far as I've come, it proves that it's worth it at the end of the day.
So what did you do to get to where you're at as far as like overcoming that obstacle of humbling yourself?
I don't know. I don't know what I did. I just kept going day by day. Like, it's really just day by day. I would say one thing that I'm really good at is maintaining positive relationships with people. I think when you connect and you align yourself with really good people and you be a good person to them as they are to you, and you practice really, really good discernment, I think that that stops you from getting into some sticky situations, and that allows you to reap the benefits later on in life. You never know who you might come across. You never know who this person may end up being. And I'm not saying do that for the reward of it. I'm saying, you have to still be a good, intentional person. But I would say just maintaining good, positive relationships with people and being there for people and having a sense of community and being open to a sense of community and remaining, as humble as possible was really what helped me to get to where I am, because you only need one phone call. You only need one opportunity, and you don't know who that person is going to be. So having good references is key.
Yeah. So what are some of your daily struggles that are holding you back from your fullest potential?
The world is just crazy right now, period. Everybody is tense. Everyone's on edge. People are killing people. People are losing their lives. And navigating that in the entertainment industry specifically can be tough.
Yeah.
And again, imposter syndrome. I know I'm a good producer, but sometimes I'm like, am I doing this right? Am I supposed to be here? And it's a different world. And for me, especially being a producer in a now major corporate setting, I work for Paramount. Paramount is one of the hugest media conglomerates that there is.
Yeah.
Sometimes that imposter syndrome sneaks in, or sometimes I'm just exhausted, really just tired, and it mentally drains me sometimes. But I have to keep fighting, and I have to, big myself up, or I have to lean on other people to help big me up. So that's, all of that.
So what are you doing on a day-to-day basis to get through that?
Just taking it moment by moment and having grace with myself. Being graceful with myself is key. If I was hard on myself, I don't know where I would be. Sometimes I do get hard on myself, but then I have to snap out of it and just remain graceful, and at some point in the day try to remain in the vortex, if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
So, and listening to people like Abraham Hicks, listening to, Pastor PT or Sarah Jakes Roberts, just surrounding myself with positive people. My partner, he's a very positive, engaging person. He goes out and works out every day. So just being around that type of energy, I think, is what helps me every day to be great. And even my friends, my best friend, Heather is a hustler. I don't know where the girl get the strength from, but she does it every single day.
Her and I talk about that stuff all the time.
Yeah, and just being around those type of people that they do it too. So if they're doing it, why can't I do it?
So based off of all the experiences that you've had in your life, what's your outlook on life now?
Man, my outlook on life now. To be determined. To be determined. I don't think I'll have an outlook on life until my life is in this realm is done, until I transition. I don't think I'll ever have like a broad sense or broad outlook on life, other than that it's short. Just recently I lost a friend from college.
Sorry to hear that.
And he was doing wonderfully, and I felt bad because I didn't know how good he was doing, because we haven't checked in. It's been 10 years or more. So just knowing that life is short and it could be over at any moment, and trying to not stress about the little things. I try to be as calm and as patient as possible.
No, I always tell people it's important to pay attention and check in on your friends and family, because you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Going through. What's your ultimate goal in life?
To be happy. Period. To be happy. I can't even elaborate more on that, because that's just what it is.
No, I love that. I think happiness is the most important part in life. Like, you have to, it's crazy. Like, I've had trials, the last couple weeks, couple months, and I never let it take my happiness away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you know, listening to you, talking to other friends, and like kind of hearing what people are going through, like, there's no reason for me to complain about anything.
Yeah, definitely.
So I love that you kept it nice, short, and simple. Because I mean, that's the most important part in life, is being happy.
Because as long as I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing, which is my purpose, which I feel is my purpose.
Yep.
And as long as I have vision, and something I've learned recently is when you have a vision, your vision is beyond yourself.
Mm-hmm.
People have vision and people have goals, and it's for the good of the great. It's for the good of the people that you care about and the people that you love. And so as long as I'm maintaining on that track, and as long as I accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, I'll continue to be happy. Yeah. I'm not always happy, but that's my goal.
Right. No, I mean, we have our days. Make it happen. My last, final, and favorite question is, if you were to give someone advice that looks like you or that has been through the same experiences as you, what would you tell them?
Keep smiling and keep your legs crossed. No, that's something my uncle used to say. What I would say to someone in a similar position as me is to be fearless. That's really all life is about. I think, like I said, there's imposter syndrome. There's all of these fears and people telling you, or you just looking at social media and thinking that I can't do this, or I should be able to do this, but I don't have this, and having excuses. That's all a part of fear. If I could go back in time, in retrospect, I would get all of that out of my system when I was younger. I think I had a lot of fear in me on top of confidence, which was a weird mixture. But being fearless, I think, is what really leads people to achieving greatness.
Well, thank you again for sitting down with me. Please make sure you follow Sharick LaMay on her journey through social media and, you know, any type of aspect of life. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me.
Thank you, and thank you for creating this platform, because we're creatives and we're serious about our ish.
Yes, we are. So make sure everybody leaves comments, questions down below. Follow us again. Thanks again.
I just want you to know you are not alone.